So welcome class. This is going to be our lesson number 7, Computer Application 2. My name is Anthony Agon from ICT Department, ICS College. So remember, this is computer aided design. For our case, we are going to learn about AutoCAD. And remember, in diploma, 3D is normally examinable. You are going to start at 2D. So I want us to start by looking at ways of entering points in AutoCAD. So remember, this is AutoCAD. In this case, we are using 202, and this is the working area. The black part is the working area. So we have these tools here. We can use them. We have the title here. You have this menu there. So remember, in our notes we said there are 3 ways of entering points in AutoCAD. The first one being using what you call absolute coordinates. So in absolute coordinates, you give the real XY coordinates according to what we call world coordinate system. So you give the coordinates. Now suppose I want to draw a rectangle. Maybe starting from 0 0. So I'll enter here on command line. I'll pick a line. Let us use a line. Then you say 0 0. Enter. Then you just zoom, extend, right scroll here. So that is 0 0. Then maybe 0 0. Then let's say 10 0. So that is then 0. So I want to draw a rectangle which is 10 by 5. So if I want to go upwards here using absolute coordinates, I'll say now on x-axis it is still 10, but now y-axis will be 5. So I'll say 10, comma 5. Okay. So if I want to come this way, this other part here, the x-axis will be 0 and y will be 5. So it's going to be 0, 5. Then for you to join, you come back to 0 0. Okay. Then if you want to terminate the current command, you press enter. So that is a rectangle which is 10 by 5, using now what you call absolute coordinates. You give the real coordinates of x and y coordinates. If I want to dimension this one, I'll go to dimension, linear, and I pick this part, this other part, and I move upwards there. We are using linear because this is a line. I can repeat linear and say from here up to there. Okay. So that is a rectangle which is 5 by 5, using now what you call absolute coordinates. So you give the coordinates, the real coordinates here. Okay. So the next one will be what we call relative coordinates. Now on relative coordinates is the second way of entering point. So what we do on relative coordinates, we give a point relative to the previous point. So we find what you call displacement. You give x displacement and y displacement. So I want us to draw the same objects, but now using a relative coordinates. So let me just select this one, or I select all of them, then I erase. Okay, so again we must specify the starting point. Of course, we are drawing a rectangle, 0 0. Then remember our rectangle was 0 0, and then we have 10 0. So you need to keep displacement on x-axis. How many units are we displacing this way? So we are displacing 10 units, but on x-axis or y-axis we are remaining the same point, so we are displacing 0 units. So remember, for relative coordinates we start with at. So you say at, you give x displacement, which is 10, then you give now y displacement, which is 0. Okay, now the other point here is supposed to be 10 5. So 10 5, give displacement on x-axis, displacement on y-axis. On x-axis we are remaining on the same point, so the 0 displacement, so at 0. Now on y-axis we are displacing 5 units, so at 0 5. Okay, then you come this way. So when you come this way, you are displacing now 10 units on x-axis, but you are going in opposite direction, so it is negative. So at negative 10. Now on y-axis we are remaining on the same point, so the displacement is 0. Okay, then if you want to join, so you come downwards this way. We are on the same point on x-axis, so it is at 0. Y, it is negative 5, because we are coming on the opposite direction. So that is how you can draw a rectangle using relative coordinates. Again, you can dimension this one, select linear dimension, you can repeat linear, that way. Okay, so that is the second way of entering points in AutoCAD. Now I want to look at the third one and the last one, which is polar coordinates. So far we've learned how we can draw lines using absolute and relative coordinates. Now the third one is polar coordinates. So you must have realized that there is no point where we have used angles. So remember, polar coordinates are used when you want to draw a certain line at an angle. So let me clear this one, erase. So we are going to use what you call polar coordinates. So suppose I want to draw a line, so I pick a line from here. Starting point is what? 0. So 0 0. Now I want to draw this line at an angle of 45 degrees. So what you need to know is that we measure angles in anti-clockwise direction. That is in AutoCAD. So if you have gone through the notes, then you must have realized that we measure angles in anti-clockwise direction or counterclockwise direction. That is starting from the x-axis. So we go that way. We measure in anti-clockwise direction. So the notation for polar coordinate is at, then you give the distance, maybe 10 units. Use less than sign, then you give the angle 45 degrees. So actually at, you give the distance, less than sign, then you give the angle. Okay, so that is my line. That is so this line is at an angle of 45 degrees. If I want to measure, first of all I'll make a line here. Let me just draw any line, let's say 5 units. This will enable me to measure the angle. So go to dimension, then you pick what? Angular, where is angular? Angular. So I'll select the first point here, x-axis, and this one. So you see the angle is 45 degrees. So that is polar coordinates. So sometimes we can mix all the three ways of entering points in AutoCAD, depending on the diagram that you want to come up with. So you must be aware of these 3 points. Okay. So next I want us to start looking at or drawing some simple objects. Let me just erase this one. So suppose you are told to draw something like this. We have a frame starting from 0, 0, then you go. So make sure the polar is on, this one. You make sure it is on. For now it is on, so that sorry, if you want to draw a straight line, you make sure it is like this, then you specify the distance. So I'm going to draw 10 about. Let me just zoom in. This one is too big. Zoom extends. Okay. So the length of that line is 10 centimeters. I want 10 by 7. So from here, I make this way, like a 7. Or I want 10 by 7. So let me just repeat. Just erase. I want a bigger line. Make sure border is on. To pick a line. Starting point is 0, 0. I go upward 7 units. This other way, I want 10 units. Again 7. Then I go back here. Okay. So let me just zoom in. This. So I want to draw some object inside it. I want to learn how we can draw some objects. So this point here is 0, 0. Suppose I want to draw a rectangle inside, starting at 2, 2, 2, 2. Then I go upwards 1 unit. This way 4 units. Downwards 1 unit. Let us draw another rectangle. Starting point for this case will be 3, 3. Okay. Let us say 4, 4. 4, 4. This one is 1. Let's say 4. Sorry, let us use something like 2. Sorry. 2, 1. Then you joined. If you want to draw a circle, you pick a circle there. Then you specify circle. Specify center point. Maybe I want to draw it here. Specify the radius. I want to use 1. Suppose I want to draw a line here also. So I want us to learn how we can dimension this drawing. So we go to dimension, pick linear with a line. I want to know from here to here is how many units? 10. I want to repeat linear, and I want to know from here up to here. 97. If I want to know the diameter of this circle, I'll go and pick diameter. I click on the circle. So diameter is 2 because radius was 1. Okay. If I want to know the distance of this line here, I'll go to dimension. Let me use a line. polygon aligned. Let me pick exact point. Okay, so that is how you can dimension your drawing. Okay, so for now we can stop there. It's the end of our lesson. Now in our next lesson we shall look at how we can create layers. How do we set units? So you can create different layers in your drawing. Maybe you want the dimension layer to be different, you want drawing layer to be different. Like if you want to draw the plan of a house, you can use different layers for different parts of the house. Like for the floors you can use different lines, layers. You can use different layers for the doors, and so on and so on. So we shall look at how to create those layers. Okay.